This is Radio Paul, and this episode is about this guy, Daniel Montalvo, just settled with the Church of Scientology, Bridge Publications, and his parents. Why was he suing Scientology? Aren't they the most ethical people on the planet? I mean, let's stop and think. How could Daniel be unethical? He was raised in Scientology. He was raised in its bosom. He was protected and insulated from the outside world in theta. So how could it go so horribly wrong? It sounds to me like the tech isn't working. We have a kid who was abandoned by his parents, turned over into slave labor where he was mutilated. Then, fleeing for his own welfare, tricked back across state lines where he was arrested, and the abuse continued. What's the example? Escape a cult and go to jail? That's the example that they're trying to set. Well, in this situation, no one can blame Daniel Montalvo for fighting the good fight as well as he did. I have no doubts that his lawyer is competent and that he certainly fought the fight and made the best decision he could. But, David Miscavige, the question begs. I mean, people around you have to be asking, why does someone as young as Daniel Montalvo, who had no in theta in their life, blowing your cult? How does he miss a thumb? I mean, this guy has no prior crimes in this life. Psychiatry didn't get him before he came to Scientology. He's as clean as a virgin's honeypot. From Scientology's perspective, how did you F that up? I mean, what's the in theta? Really? And this goes on in our society, and the organizations like the FBI do nothing. I want to know, when is the state going to do something for child abuse to this kid? When is the state going to intervene over things like labor laws, mutilation of a person missing a thumb for the rest of his life? When are people going to give people like Daniel Montalvo the time of day when they're screaming out for help and they sue? It's extraordinary that Scientologists go around with their heads in the sand completely without any responsibility, and they don't stand up to the abuses. So they're not ethical. They can't take one of their own who was raised in Scientology and give him the justice that he deserves. They won't speak up for him because they don't want to hurt their own case. You see, this is all about him. What's his cause? Well, there is no cause. He was raised in Scientology. He was protected and insulated. Anyway, having said this, I wish Daniel Montalvo the best in life. And I wish that anyone watching this that's in Scientology, ask yourself, when are you going to take responsibility for your organization? When are you going to take responsibility for a minor having his thumb ripped off in one of your printing presses and then sent back to work? When are you going to take responsibility for parents abandoning their children to the Sea Org and they only see their parents a few times in their life? When are you going to do that? When are you going to step up to the plate? When are you going to make sure that there isn't another Daniel Montalvo? The only way you can do that is blow, not pay money to this dictator who's currently running this cult. And I know what L. Ron Hubbard said. L. Ron Hubbard said that children are fully grown adults in little bodies. Malarkey, baloney. Daniel Montalvo did not bring this abuse with him in this life. It was visited upon him by tyrants, by abusive parents who have learned to disconnect from their families, because Scientology teaches a disconnect of emotions. When you sit there and you talk to an ashtray, and when you sit there and you learn to ignore other people talking to you, you are turning your brain into goo. You think you have power. Sure you do. You have the power to ignore reality. You have the power to ignore your heart in Scientology. That's what it teaches, a desensitization of morality. But you also have the power to change. Let's not see another Daniel Montalvo. Scientology, people are going to keep leaving, they're going to keep suing, and they're going to keep speaking up. Scientologists, step up to the plate. You owe it to yourselves, you owe it to this guy, and you owe it to the world that you claim that you're trying to save to put an end to this type of abuse.